Wisconsin Congressman Scott Fitzgerald. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
It's good to be with you.
Walk us through this. I was frankly surprised at some of the resistance on the right. I thought this was something that was going to go in fairly unscathed, but you have the Freedom Caucus being the biggest group.
Yeah, I mean, as a member of the whip team, we kind of came together and had a discussion the evening before. And I truly think leadership was caught off guard when the votes weren't there yesterday.
Interesting.
So in part of it, I think, was the back and forth. There was some concerns about the Senate simply ignoring the bills that the House would pass.
Yes.
And then simply moving forward with their own bill, which kind of would have boxed in the House. And I think that was a concern that was actually aired later on with President Trump, and he understood that. I think he understands the back and forth between the House and the Senate, and
Right.
the House doesn't like to get rolled by the Senate.
No.
And I certainly think that was one of the concerns.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congressman, your colleague, she put out a tweet or an X post, and she had this to say about the Genius Act. And that Genius Act is
Right.
the act that would use the U.S. dollar to back stable coins, which is one way to stabilize crypto, right?
That's right.
So that's a good
That's right.
thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she says this: I just voted no on the Genius Act because it does not include a ban on central bank digital currency, and because Speaker Johnson did not allow us to submit amendments to the Genius Act. Her objection over the CBDC side of things. I understand, though, the anti-CBDC Act, at least when it left the House,
Right.
was meant to battle essentially what she says she's opposing. So I don't understand why she's now opposing the Genius Act, which is a separate bill, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure where the Congresswoman was kind of specific to the Genius Act, but what I can say is, as a member of the Financial Services Committee, that was a great concern of many of the members. We did
Yes.
not want the federal government having control over this.
It'd be like China. It's what China's using to socially control their people.
In any respect.
Yes.
So we were very adamant, I think, not only the members of the Financial Services Committee, but overall, we knew that the full conference would have huge issues with that. So I feel like that's been dealt with. President Trump is comfortable, is my understanding, after the speaker talked to him yesterday, and then some of the other members had visited with him. So I think we're in a much better position at this point than we were even on fly-in day.
Yes.
So I'm confident that this is going to make it through today, sometime this afternoon, actually.
Oh,
we're going to vote
interesting.
on this.
So, when this conversation was on the desks of the Democrats under the Biden administration, I think some of us remember when Janet Yellen, Treasury Secretary, was standing up there saying, well, we need to centralize, we need a government digital currency.
Absolutely.
And she was out there basically
Yeah.
saying, we want a system exactly like China's, which China is currently using to monitor where people spend their money, how they spend their money. So it was no surprise that the Democrats were super excited about centralizing crypto, which would have defeated the entire purpose of crypto.
It would have. And I think one of the things that was lost in those discussions was how would that be viewed by other countries across the globe? And what would it do to the actual dollar itself? What effect could it have had on it?
Yes.
And it was something that the Biden administration not only ignored, I think, but was well aware, because they continued to try to make this play that we want Europe to be engaged with the U.S. when it comes to the Securities and Exchange. And that is not something that certainly conservatives wanted, and even more so, I would say, Chairman French Hill
Yes.
and the Financial Services Committee. So I think we were very adamant and very deliberate in the way that we went about pulling together the Genius Act.
Now, Chairman Hill, Congressman Hill of Arkansas, he's an interesting player in all of this. He has a deep financial background. He used to own a bank. He knows what banks do and how they operate.
Very
and
qualified
so,
to be chairman.
For him to be on board with this bill, I think speaks a lot, because crypto is not necessarily the best friend of big banks.
Well, I mean, I think what you're going to see is, just like we saw other technologies move forward over the over the last decade or so, specifically related to banking, right? I mean, we all know how banking has changed. It's affected us personally in a way that no one probably could have imagined. I think that's where this is going. I think that's where crypto will be headed. And I know there's a lot of people very uncomfortable because it's kind of hard to grasp it when you hear terms like, blockchain, right? I mean,
what
people
is
are
it based
blockchain.
off
What's
of?
blockchain,
well, it's
right?
not really based off of anything.
Right. So it makes people uneasy. I mean, I think in the future what you're going to see is Americans are going to have the ability to use it in a way that, right now Bitcoin is being used.
Right.
I mean, people are making electronic payments
Isn't that what
with
Genius
Bitcoin.
Act would kind of do?
It would put in place the guardrails that I think are long overdue, because what we're seeing is the private sector is, and that's fine, because we've seen this before, where the private sector is way out ahead of where government is. So we're always in the mode of trying to catch up on some of those fronts, and I think that's kind of what we're doing today. That's what Congress is not only engaging in, but I think we're putting in place some things that will help the industry, things that are embraced by the industry, that will help them solidify some of the platforms.
So I think that a lot of Americans can say comfortably that they don't understand cryptocurrencies. They know it's a big deal, and we know it's hot. And those of us who do kind of follow this stuff maybe view it with a skeptical eye for when it was first coming out.
Yeah.
But now it's become such a hot topic. When was the moment when you kind of got, I guess, sold on crypto or understood that this was a train we can't stop? When was that moment for you?
Actually, it was when I started to see ATMs emerge in my own district where people could approach the ATM and buy Bitcoin. I think there were many people that were like, wait a minute, what is going on here? How does this work? How can it be used? How will the retailers react to this? Is there something that could be ushered in that would actually change the way that people use cash, which I think is another front that's going to be kind of discussed down the road. We're seeing people that have become more and more engaged in online retailing that are on the verge of embracing this as well.
Yes.
So there's a lot. It's all technology driven, and as a result of that, I think sometimes people feel like they are being left behind, which is frustrating. But it's not so overcomplicated that people won't eventually be able to embrace it. And I think that's what Congress is trying to do right now. We're trying to address that.